Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 11th, 2021 at approximately 6:36 p.m. PST. Now, we're going to do our best to get this completed in one shot. However, since I am on shift right now, there may be times when I'm actually pausing this, because this is a live recording, meaning I do not go back and edit anything. Okay, that being said, thank you for joining me today. Time to get to work. Now, we've talked about the issue of changing your life and why between us, if we all change our life, if we all get rid of the negative things in our life that we actually have control over, the side effect is that this world will return to a proper life, to the way it was designed. A place of peace, a place of prosperity, a place of family. Basically, if you will, paradise. Okay. Now, many people have told me this is an impossible goal, that there is no way that 7.5, 7.6 billion people will ever get along. The reality is, the same thing was said about the Scottish clans. The same thing was said about the first 13 colonies of the United States. Same thing was said about Canada itself. And, and then the list goes on. The UN will never fly, will never get to space. There's a lot of things we'll never do. The reality is, all of these things that I've just listed have all been done. Now, yeah, there are people out there that will claim that some of what I just said didn't happen. Okay, unfortunately, there are people that will deny some of the most blatant things. However, I'm here to talk to those of you that are ready to actually alter your life for the better. Now, it doesn't matter what religion, what spiritual guideline you follow. It doesn't matter what title you put on what. It really doesn't matter. You're all 100% of you are in the same point in your life. You are right where you're standing. How you got to where you are doesn't matter, in as much as you're still right where you are. And therefore it is not the past that we are looking to change. It is the present. By changing the negative things out of your life in the present, your future will be left with only the things that make you happy. It will only be full of things that you're content with, things that make you feel a little bit more hopeful, a little bit more energetic. Okay. Now remember, you cannot control, on the whole, how somebody else feels. You can influence them, you can encourage them to feel in certain ways, preferably in beneficial ones. Now, obviously, I'm in the wrong profession to tell you don't help people. But I will tell you this. It is critical that you remember that if you do not take care of you first, there is no functional way you're going to be in the best shape possible to help other people. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people out there, and many of them I've met, that will go out of their way to help other people and often put themselves in hardship because of it. Absolutely, if that is what it takes to help people, absolutely do so, but do your best not to put yourself in hardship that you're going to require help with. Okay, now, what I've done is I took a look at the way my world was going. I was not content. This much I knew. Okay, but it was because of you people that I turned around and started finally getting a video up and running and getting this series up and running. Now, since March 6th of 2021, I have had a total, I think I've missed 3 days, maybe 4. Okay, I'd have to go back and double check. But what I do know is that every time I miss doing this video on any given day, I don't feel like my day has been complete. So, that being said, what the heck is that? I don't know, it must be a spot. I'm just looking at a spot on my video. Like I said, live recording, that'll show up, but that's okay. Anyway, I started off looking at how to change my life and going, look, if I can show people that these changes are possible, then maybe, just maybe, a couple of you will take a look at it and go, oh, let me try that. You know, I'm going to give that a shot and see, because what I've been doing hasn't worked. If you're in the boat that everything you've tried thus far hasn't worked for you, and you're still fighting depression, you're still behind the 8 ball financially, you're still having trouble figuring out where you want to go in life. Okay, that's what this video is about, is to help you find a way to identify that. Now, where it comes to, I went through, that was good. Can we try one thought at a time? What do you think? I went through in prior videos in this series the way that energy works and how to manipulate it, how to make it work properly. I shouldn't say properly, I should say effectively. Okay, because the reality is you cannot stop energy. Energy will continue to flow forward. Okay, but energy flows in all directions unless you guide it. Now, you can guide energy to where you desire it to go, thereby manifesting the things in your life that you desire, providing you are not breaking karmic law. Okay, karmic law again. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Now, 2 extra signs that I have and that I put in my office in order to make certain that I get the reminders I require is you'll see on the video there on the one side, and don't ask me if it's on the right or the left. I suspect it's on the right, but who knows. Anyway, there's a little wood sign there. You can see just a little dark rectangle. That sign is a hand-burnt one that I used a magnifying lens in the sun for. And it says, I am worth it. I have that same 4-word phrase on my fridge up front. Okay. Second one I've got pertains more to finance. Okay. And the financial one that I've got, and I've got it right up here. Okay, referring to the amount of money required to run your house. Okay. In my case, it's $2,000. Okay, that includes rent, utilities, food, insurance, transportation. You get the picture. Okay, that sign for me says we have legally attained a minimum of $2,000 by May 31st, 2021 at 1 minute to midnight PST. Okay. Now, that said, that helps draw the energy out of the spiritual world into the material world to make it manifest. Again, this is a question of guiding energy where you desire it. Okay, where you desire it to be to make your life more effective. This is ultimately our goal. Now, if all of us do the same thing, picture what happens if you take a match head. Okay, if you take a whole pile of old matches and you put them side by side. Okay, you stand them in styrofoam, light only one, and see what happens to the ones around it. Picture all these people, all of these little matches as a person, as individual people. When you get your life straightened out, when you eliminate the negative things out of your life and you burn them away, watch what it does to the people next to you. Okay, it will do exactly the same thing for them. And you'll find it spreads across the entire population. The goal in my eyes to start with this video was to simply give people an idea that they really can change their life for the better with a little bit of guidance. Okay, what it became was a massive message to get out to everybody on the planet. Okay, not just the ones behind a video. Okay, and in my eyes, there's no such thing as a third world country. If you get your life, if you start using these tools, and you start getting your life to change, and talk about what you're doing to the people around you, you'll find that everybody starts to do the same thing. Because let's face it, people on the whole want the same thing. They want to wake up in the morning. They desire to be healthy. They desire to be respected. They desire to have a roof over their head. The list goes on. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. And the amount of money you've got, the position you've got in your career, whether you're a CEO or a broom pusher, everybody on the planet is equally valuable. Certainly they have different material worth. Okay. Certainly some people are better at sports than others. But they are each and every one of them a valuable person. Think of it this way. If you're one of these people that likes to go out to restaurants because you don't like cooking, when you go out to a restaurant, the person out there is doing a job. They're doing you a service. They're taking care of cooking so you don't have to. Now, regardless of what they're getting paid or how much money you make, or don't make for that matter, if you treat them with respect, you'll get better service, therefore you'll have a more enjoyable night out. Same idea if you're going out to a bar. The bartender and the waitresses are doing the best they can to make your night out a more enjoyable one. Treat them with the respect you desire to be treated with. Even your bouncers, okay, they're there to remove problem children. Don't be one of the problem children, you'll have a much more enjoyable night. Everybody has to work together. Okay, now there are many of you out there that come up with brilliant ideas in order that are really usable to help other people, to employ other people, to give other people a sense of income, a way of affording things. Now, the reality of it from my standpoint is I've been told that money is the root of all evil. Money is nothing but a barter system, and in my opinion, it's a lot easier to move a $10 bill around than it is to move a cow. Okay, it's just another barter system. Okay, the reality behind that is that you're looking at a situation where fear is where the problem comes in. Fear of loss, fear of lack, fear of incompetence, fear of I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to be loved, all of these things. Okay, fear of being alone. I could go on forever with it. Okay, I'm just not going to. You have two emotions, both of which are absolutely required to make this world better. You have fear and you have love. If you don't have the two, you will not recognize the other one. Okay. You will, like, if you... Well, that would indicate I gotta pause. I'll be back. Okay, hopefully this works well. I'm back. Like I was saying, okay, it is very important that people realize that working together, all of the things that we've got going on that are a mess on this world, we can actually turn around. Okay, the reality behind it is it's up to you as individuals. By changing your world, by changing the things in your life that you're not content with, what will end up happening is you'll alter the way you're looking at the world. And then when you go out to deal with people out in public, for instance, your waitresses, your first responders, your security people, i.e. the police and the security guards are out there to try and keep everything safe for everybody. Because let's face it, much as I would love to say everybody's honest, a lot of people could look at that and go, everybody's honest when? Okay, now, from my standpoint, I'm pretty black and white. I will tell people, I won't lie to you to make you feel better. Right, but on the flip side of that, I also won't modify what I'm looking at to make it sound like it feels better. I was told years ago I really needed to learn tact, and I went, tact? What do you mean? They went, and the person who told me goes, tact, the ability to tell somebody to go to guess where, and make them look forward to the trip. And I looked at the person that told me, and I went, that's a cute thought. I only have one problem with it. Right? And they looked at me and went, what's the problem with it? I says, well, if I'm mad enough to tell somebody where to go, why do I care whether they're in a good mood? Okay, this is why I tell people, if you're going to ask me a question, be aware I may not I may not answer things in the way you would like them phrased. There is no question that I do not pay a whole lot of attention to whether or not what I say is going to make people happy. It's not a question of going out and trying to create a problem. It's just that I look at the world the way it is, and I know full well it can be corrected. The world can be better. There is no functional difference between one person and the next. There are different clothing. I mentioned this before. There's an old saying that goes, clothes make the person. If that were the case, everybody in a job that requires a uniform, everybody in a school that requires a uniform, okay, what would end up happening is all these people would be identical, and they would all behave the same way. They don't. Okay. However, the way you dress and the way you carry yourself will affect the way other people treat you. Okay, this can be proven easily by trying it yourself. Going to any place that you choose, dress really poorly, and on another occasion go into a similar business dressed really well, and see how you get treated better. Okay, it's a question of manipulating the energy and making things work the right way. See, one of the things I found is if you go in shopping for a high-ticket item and you go in dressed really high class, people on the whole will try and get more money out of you. They'll charge a higher price. Now, I may be mistaken, but this is I can't be mistaken in this case. This is what my experience has been. Okay, if you go in there dressed more casually, people will not automatically assume you've got a staggering amount of money. Okay, and therefore they won't necessarily try and get more money out of you. They may. Okay, but the reality is people will treat you differently depending on how you're dressed, how well you're groomed. Okay, I mean, let's face it, I am not exactly what we call a real positive fashion statement, aside from I dress the way I choose, and that's where my limit is right now. Okay, this does not make it right, this just makes it me. And like I said, the one thing with me is I will not lie to people to make them feel better. Okay, overall, life is changing. The one consistency in this world, the one consistency is change. Everything changes. Everybody dies. Okay, and everybody, doesn't matter where you're from or how you got to where you are, everybody is where they are right this moment in life. Financially, spiritually, socially, wherever you are right now, regardless of how you got there, which I can virtually, in most cases, was not done overnight. Some of you are unfortunate enough to have had things turn upside down overnight. But on the whole, it has taken years for people to get to where they are. With this in mind, okay, it's time to start getting the things out of your life that you're not content with. But remember, especially for those of you living under somebody else's roof, if somebody else is paying the rent or the mortgage and you're living in that home, okay, you must follow the laws that they lay out. Okay, that's just simply the way it is. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. If you have rules in your home, when people come into your home, I'm pretty certain you desire them to follow the rules you've laid out, not rearrange them. I see a lot of conflict, or more to the point, I hear about a lot of conflict, of people coming from one country to another, and when they get to the new country, instead of conforming to the laws of the new country, they push and complain until the new country modifies things to accommodate the newcomer. Well, that will result in a massive conflict. Okay, and it has done so regularly. Okay, picture, if you will, okay, you want to go into a church, just for those of you that are religiously inclined. What do you think's going to happen if you go into a church let's just say you're Jewish, and I'm not picking on the Jewish people, okay? Take any religion, whatever religion you are, okay? Whether you're Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, doesn't matter. Whatever religion you are, go into a different type of church and see how well they take to the idea of them altering their way of doing things to accommodate you. The same thing applies to when you go from one country to another. When you go from one country to another, treat that new country. Since you're going there, adapt to the new country. This is a question of do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. It's kind of like if you're leading a political party, a religious group, a community group. If you're leading them, make sure that whatever laws you're laying down, whatever policies you're proposing, are ones that you personally are following as well. Okay. Again, if we work together, or more to the point, when we work together, we can change this world to a much better, a much more all-encompassing, happy, more laid-back, more stress-free, relaxed world. Okay. I always had a problem growing up with the idea. My parents used to say, you can't draw a line in the sand and tell the other kids, no, you can't cross that line. And I always looked at it because it didn't make sense. You can't do that, and yet people draw a line on a sheet of paper and say the same thing. And they get into fights over it. Now, don't get me wrong. Absolutely, borders are necessary to put communities in and to have centralized communities. I mean, if you think about it, people living in the tropical areas have no clue what it's like what challenges they would have to deal with in the Arctic Circle, and vice versa. This is why little communities are necessary. Okay, this is why it is absolutely imperative that laws are made, that there is a system of government that is in place. This is not the time to look at overthrowing governments. If you're not happy with the country you're living in, instead of looking at getting into a war to change something else, look at leaving that country, the one you're not happy in. Find one that has something different for you and move to that country. Go through whatever steps you need to. Okay. And for those of you that are running countries or running communities, just like with banks, if somebody is not happy with a bank, okay, if you're not happy with the bank you're dealing with, you go, I don't like this bank, I'm going to go find another bank and take my money over there. The bank managers don't create a fuss for the person pulling their account. The same thing applies to countries. If you're running a country, the idea is very simple. If people desire to leave, absolutely have your immigration, your immigration laws in order so you can keep track of who's in your country. Absolutely. Okay, but let me ask you this. If you're running a company, running a country, do you want a bunch of people in your country that don't want to follow the laws you're laying out? Do you want to force them to stay in that country? Or would it be more convenient, would it be more stress-free, if you will, to set up the rules to say, okay, this is how you move out. Okay, you don't want to be here? Fine. Here's how you do it so that we can keep our record straight. Okay, and yes, I do realize that because the old saying, time is money, it's a little overstated, but everything has value. Okay, the trick is not to target the top dollar for everything. Okay, now, when you look at the reality behind it, when we work together, we can stop a lot of this conflict. War has never brought peace. War brings quiet. And the difference is this. Peace means nobody's worried about the bullets. Quiet, the reason the war stops is because the people are all ducking and staying out of sight. Okay, by the way, this does not make for a happy life. Okay, and of course, if you're one of these people that is going, well, we need our guns. We want to hang on to our guns. Well, your guns aren't the problem. Okay, the guns have never been a problem. It's kind of like cars are not a problem. However, a car is a 2,000-pound weapon. Okay, and if it is not treated properly, it will end up killing somebody, or more to the point, the person driving it will end up killing somebody. If you're going to own something that does have a dangerous component to it, then absolutely take responsibility for it. Okay, you'll notice I am not talking about disbanding anything. All I'm suggesting, and it was funny one day, all I'm really suggesting is people work to get along. Now, I got accused one day, and it was comical as heck in my eyes. Right, somebody turned around and says, you know, it's people like you suggesting people get along that start these cults that are causing problems around the world. And I thought about it, and I went, you know, if suggesting people get along is called starting a cult, then I personally am of the opinion that maybe it's time that we start a cult that is absolutely global and absolutely includes and involves roughly 7.5 billion people. Okay, if the idea of this is, in other people's eyes, starting a cult, absolutely join my cult and start being nice to people. I don't know what you want to call it. Call it what you will. Okay. I mean, we can call it let's be nice. That said, okay. Now I do keep these videos to a minimum. Okay, to a half-hour run. And with that in mind, if you give us a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to our channel. Okay, share the daylights out of it to everybody you can, because like I said, I'd like to get this to go global. Okay, I'd like to get the message out to people that regardless of where you come from, you are capable, you are worth just as much as the next person. Okay, at the bottom of this video, you'll find a list of different books I've already put in print. Okay, that can be ordered directly through me only at this point. And there's a list of contact points below. Thankfully, I'm starting to get people to reach out and ask really what I consider really important, really well thought out questions. Okay. Now, am I going to repeat the questions that are asked? Probably at some point, just not yet. The reality is, if you've got questions in any walk of life, any genre of life, feel free to ask. And again, on the first Friday of every month, I am on spacedoutradio.com. Okay, from 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. live, talking about aliens and alien technology and ancient races. Okay, feel free to drop by at that time. There's a lot of different chat rooms that are linked to it. You can find it on the net. I can't give you all the information because I frankly don't know it. Okay, I figure I'd do good just by showing up there. But I hope to hear from you there. In the meantime, okay, we're hitting the half-hour mark here. So, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.